Okay, today, section 1.3, solving linear equations. Some of the terms we'll come across and you probably recognize are variable and constant, which we'll talk about. We'll start off with solving one-step equations, two steps, and get a little bit more involved with three-step equations, which may include distribution, which you're probably familiar with, but we'll discuss a little bit more. Okay, let's try a few right now. Now, these are equations where you want to isolate the variable. As you can see, there's an x in equation 1, and you want to get x by itself. Okay, one step can do this. We have to remove the 3/5, so we have x by itself. Now, the way you deal with a fraction is you multiply by its reciprocal. Reciprocal of 3/5 is 5/3, so we multiply that by 5/3. And what you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. You multiply that by 5/3. At this point, these all cancel into ones, which would give you 1x or simply x. And to make life easier, when you multiply this, you can cross reduce 3 into 3 once, 3 into 12, 4. So you have 5 times 4, or 20. Now again, always be careful with your sign numbers. Minuses, negatives tend to trip people up here. We want to get c by itself, so we have to get rid of this -8. Well, the opposite of minus is plus, so we go +8, +8. This now cancels. We're left with c, and -5 plus 8 is 3. Okay, moving on to some two-step equations. It says usually, and most often, you'll do the addition or subtraction in the process of getting your variable by itself before you do the multiplication or division. So we want to get d by itself. First, we'll get rid of the +8 by subtracting. So now we have a -3d equals 27. This is what we mean by how we did an addition or subtraction first. Now we're going to go ahead and do the division to eliminate the -3. So divide by -3, divide by -3. You now have d by itself, and a positive divided by a negative is a negative. So -9 is your answer. Looking at the next problem. Again, we have a -7, so we're going to add 7 first before we multiply by 3/2. So let's go ahead and do that. +7, +7. So you now have 2/3 y equals 12. And as we learned in example 1, when you have a fraction with a variable, you just multiply by its reciprocal. The reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. Multiply this by 3/2. Again, these all cancel, and we're left with our y. Now, some people still will get this confused. If it helps you realize when you multiply 12 times 3/2, that's the same as 12 over 1, you can go ahead and write that over 1 there. If it helps you visualize it. At that point, then we're just going to reduce this, cross-reduce our 12 and our 2. 2 into 2 once, 2 into 12, 6, and our answer is 18. Okay, now a slightly more complicated one where we have variables and numbers on both sides of the equals. So we want to get all the variables on one side and all the numbers or constants on the other side. Again, variables are what we refer to as the letters, and constants or numbers are simply the ones that are standalone numbers. Okay, now I'm going to try and get all my x's on one side, and you can move them to either side. I try to keep my x's positive, so I'm going to start by subtracting 2x from both sides. That eliminates the 2x from that side. Now I have 3x minus 21 equals 23. Now to get all the numbers on the other side, well, I have to do the opposite of minus, which is adding. I'll add 21. They cancel. So now you have 3x equals 44. Now do the division. We'll divide by 3. And not every problem is going to come out to an integer. You could just leave this as an improper fraction, 44 over 3. Now, let's try another one just like that and see how we do. Very similar problem. And we're going to show that, well, we could move our x's over to this side and get a negative and it'll still work for us. So if we went minus 6x, minus 6x, we then would have negative 21 equals negative 4x plus 23. 2x minus 6x, negative 4x. And we're going to move our numbers over to the other side. So we're getting all our constants and numbers on this side and all our x's on this side. So again, it's just to illustrate you can do it either way. Negative 21 minus 23 is negative 44 equals negative 4x. Now, if you do problems like this, if you have your next x as negative, be careful. You have to divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4. So these cancel. We have x by itself, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And this one does work out to an integer, a positive 11. Okay, we'll try another one here, and this one will be with distribution. So you should usually and almost always distribute first. There will be rare exceptions. Distributing across 2x minus 16. And be careful when you're distributing a negative. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x, and a negative and a minus, or a negative and a negative, will make that plus 20. Okay, now it resembles our previous two problems where we want to get our x's on one side and our numbers on the other. Well, if we add 4x here, the opposite of minus is plus. We now have 6x minus 16 equals, this canceled, 20. and get all our numbers on the other side. Add 16, add 16, and we have 6x equals 36. Now you're down to one step, and all you have to do is divide by 6, divide by 6, and you have your answer, x equals 6. Now, if you get a fraction, it's really not that big a deal. You just need a common denominator. The common denominator of half and thirds is 6. So you would simply multiply this times 3 over 3, and you would get 3 6y, and multiply this times 2 over 2, and you would get 2 6y equals 10. Well, 2 6 plus 3 6 is simply 5 6. Y equals 10. And from what you learned before, just multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 5 6 is 6 over 5. This all cancels. And again, you can cross reduce. 5 into 5 once, 5 into 10 twice. 2 times 6, y equals 12. Okay, one last problem here, an application problem. Really isn't that bad. Given that the perimeter of this rectangle is 46, find the length and the width. Okay, one of them is x plus 2, the other is 2x plus 3, referring to length and width. Traditionally, the length is the longer side, so we'll call length 2x plus 3, and we'll call the width x plus 2. Now, if you remember, perimeter, you could add all the sides together, or the formula that you learned was 2 times length plus 2 times width equals the perimeter. So we'll just go ahead and plug. We'll call x plus 2 is width. We'll put it in here. And again, whenever you substitute, put it in parentheses, and we'll substitute this in for the length. So we have 2 times length 2x plus 3. Again, very important. Put it in parentheses. Plus 2 times x plus 2. And it was given that the perimeter was 46. Now you know how to do this problem. Distribute. So you have 4x plus 6 plus 2x plus 4 equals your perimeter of 46. Now combine common terms. 4x and 2x, 6x. Combine 6 and 4. It's 10. 2 steps left. Subtract 10. Subtract 10. You now have 6x equals 36. And the one step left to get x by itself is to divide by 6. Okay, you know x is 6. Now they did not just say solve for x, they said find the length and width. So go back and substitute in here 6 to find the length and the width. So if we put 6 in here, 2 times 6 plus 3. So we have 12 plus 3, or 15 for our length. And for our width, we go ahead and put in 6 here. So we simply have 6 plus 2 is 8. So the width is equal to 8, and the length is equal to 15. And that's it.